Kasim suddenly knew why the Gravolas let him make his delivery. He was bait. Distraction meant to draw the Overlords away from the ships doing the real run of the maze. He kicked the open crate of worthless wood chips across the cargo hold before hurrying back to the cockpit, briefly stumbling as another blast shook the cutlass. He disengaged the autopilot and vented the cargo hold. The decoy crates ejected from the ship and spiraling towards Pyro 2's atmosphere. They were gone in an instant, much like Kasim's dream of this delivery earning him entry into the Gravola pack. He watched the radar with bated breath, but the Overlords didn't divert. They clearly didn't care about the haul of drugs, now hurtling toward Atmo. They had their eyes on him. Kasim only recently arrived at Ruin Station, but even he could feel the fear and anxiety caused by the mysterious crew systematically capping outlaws. Kill on sight posters featuring photos of the Overlord's colorful armor were plastered across the station with increasing frequency, desperation, and credit rewards. Still, no one knew who they were and what they wanted. Some believed them to be UEE Marine Black Ops team, sent to clean up the system. Others thought they were merely outlaws, making room for their own operations. Right now, Kasim didn't care either way. Kasim had traveled to Pyro to make some serious credits. Unlike most of the scattered inhabitants of the system, he wasn't on the run. Just weeks earlier, his parents kicked him out after they heard rumors about local establishments being held up by someone that looked like him, packing a salvo pistol, the same make and model of the one strapped to his side. He tried to justify it as nothing more than some extra grift. And although no one got hurt, his father was inconsolable and unable to speak, so his mother delivered the devastating news. It was time to go. He left in a rage. At first he dreamt of returning, only when he could buy the entire building of flats that his parents lived in, so they'd have to slave away to pay him rent every month. Now, all he wanted was a peaceful night's sleep, with the smell of his dad's simmering barambu floating down the hall. On the drift, and no place to call home, Kasim grew desperate enough to use the very last of his money to make the jump into Pyro. The system had a reputation for being the place where credits could be made for those willing to fight for them. Its most popular LZ, Ruin Station, was far from a welcoming place. Kasim felt every pair of eyes calculating how much he was worth and if it was higher than the cost of a bullet to his head. He ate his first meal there with one hand tight griply around his pistol. 3 days in, he met the closest thing to a friendly face, a recently arrived hauler who made a living doing regular runs between Stanton and Pyro. She peppered him with probing questions, then invited him to meet a few friends. It was just his luck that they turned out to be connected. A local pack on the lookout for someone unaffiliated to do a heavy run. Prove he could handle it, and the Granola pack would welcome him as one of their own. Then the credits would surely flow in. At the time, Kasim couldn't believe his luck. Now he knew the truth. Warning sensors shrieked as the Cutlass's shields absorbed another brutal barrage. It wouldn't be long before they were gone. Kasim cursed himself for being so stupid. Why didn't he double-check the crates, or think twice about why they were so eager to have a random stranger pilot this Cutlass? Kasim launched a chaff to shake a missile and couldn't help but smirk. His dad said all those hours in Arena Commander were a waste. That sure proved to be wrong, a fact he hoped to one day be able to share with him in person. He made a sudden evasive turn, then started scrolling through the flight logs to look where the ship had been. Laser shots flashed by the cockpit as his pursuers adjusted course. His remaining shields began to flicker. He found something. Only one set of Pyro 2 coordinates appeared more than once. The ship rocked from impacts. His shield had gone. Kasim had to do this fast. He pulled up the coordinates, then paused. There was only one way to guarantee the Gravola would get what they deserved. Kasim switched the screens and broadcast a quantum linking signal. Overlord ships quickly locked onto it lickety-split, and away they went to the far side of Pyro 2. Eventually, the ship kicked out of Quantum. He dove through the atmosphere, flames licking around the Cutlass as the ships, hot on his tail, followed closely behind. His eyes frantically searched the inhospitable terrain pockmarked by defunct mining operations below, praying he hadn't been wrong. Then, on the horizon, he saw light glinting off the sleek hull of a freelancer. He angled his ship and soon could make out tiny figures scurrying between the Lancer and a busted-up building sitting on the lip of a deep mine. That had to be the Gravola hideout. Kasim spiraled his way to avoid heavy fire peppering his tail, then loaded his last missile, hoping to avoid the Overlord pursuit for just a few more seconds. Enough time to not only get inside effective range, but so damn close that Gravola would know it was him. Kasim screamed along as he launched his last missile at the Freelancer, and it found its target. Explosion of a blinding fireball illuminated the Cutlass's canopy. A few of the surviving turrets that perched on the edge of the mine opened fire. He wasn't bothered with evasive maneuvers anymore. At this range, there was no point. His HUD lit up with warning after warning after warning of critical system failures moments before the world slammed to black. Minutes, maybe hours passed. The first thing Kasim remembered was searing heat, then light. Someone pulled him from the wrecked ship. It took moments for his eyes to adjust and see through the throbbing pain in his skull. When he focused, he looked up at the circle of armored faces. The entire gallery of wanted posters was looking down at him. Kasim doesn't know why, but he laughed. The Overlords exchanged glances. He gave them a thumbs up, then blacked out. Kasim came to behind bio-waste crates stacked in a ruined station corner. He struggled to his feet to see a kill-on-sight Overlord's wanted poster taped to his chest. He smirked, then slowly made his way to the spaceport. It was time to find a way home. All right, so this was Dying Star, serialized fiction. This is another deep cut. September 1st, 2021. It was put in a comm link, and it was from Jump Point 8.04. So we're really going back a ways here. But I figured this would be a fun one to curate out and make, because this follows up on our Pyro 2 daring investigative reporter who was looking for the Prophet of Pyro. I'll put that video in the end of this video, and also I'll throw it in the description too, just in case you don't make it that far. But yes, thank you for sticking around for this one. This was a little bit of a short one for me, but once again, great story here, and it was leaping off the page. I was reading into it, and because I was curious myself. Another video that I recorded recently with Ash was the bounty hunters stories, and that one really got me interested in who are these overlords, these powerful pirates that we just don't know anything about. And the tracker storyline, both of the bounty hunters, the interviewer and the interviewee, so the host and the recently retired bounty hunter Nola Gave, both would not really delve into the overlords. Neither one understood anything about them. Nola and Garrett both just they were speculating, maybe UE ex-military. This is another story here where they talk about how they possibly were UE special forces that are current, possibly, as part of the overlords, not the Xeno threat that are ex-UEE military. But this brings up some interesting points. Is there more links between the UEE Navy with these pirate organizations, especially the powerful, seemingly well-connected ones that have really powerful ships and whole fleets of ships and good organization and whatnot, than the UEE Navy would like to admit, both in their retired or forcefully retired ex-Navy folks, whether it be Xeno threat due to their beliefs that are not exactly ethical, or when we talk about the overlords, are they legitimately, Black Ops forces out of the military that are current UAE Navy, and directly representing the interest of the Empire in places where they simply are not able to go with clean hands, so to speak. So it brings up some interesting topics. And once again, I love these stories that flesh out the world. Gets me more and more excited to find Pyro and finally get to explore it and fight all these pirate orgs and find my own riches. And maybe just like Kasim, have some adventures I didn't intend to be on. But still, I think they're going to be very fun adventures and very exciting. And Pyro 2, that's the last thing I'll mention. Pyro 2 is a ex-mining operation, one of the most lucrative mining operations in all Pyro, full of derelict mines that I would love to explore. Reminds me a lot of my own state of Pennsylvania being a rust belt, and some of the places I've hunted in the past where there's old mining equipment and mines, literal caves like that are man-made and naturally made and then excavated, where they have fences around them that aren't exactly holding up too well. And I'm not saying I've ever been in any, but I am saying there's been some places that you can explore that are even just strip mines that are legitimate to be in. And huge excavators from like the 1920s and just incredible technology that just you can see all the work that went into thousands of people's jobs and efforts to make something amazing. In the case of Pennsylvania, it was steel. Getting the coal they needed to develop the steel, to run the steel plants in the area. And in the case of our friend Kasim, it was to drug run. Not comparing the two, but it is fascinating to see mines used, especially derelict mines, being brought up in historical ways, and once again bringing flesh out into the world and allowing me to make comparisons like this is quite exciting. That to me, once again, makes this the best damn verse we're gonna see. I'm very excited to see Pyro. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Fly safe, everyone. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. It's greatly appreciated.